Alright, welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports NBA 2K19 roster edits. Today we are going to look at the Denver Nuggets all-time team. There are a lot of subtractions and additions to this roster that I feel are necessary. Some of these may not be popular with some of the viewers. However, after doing some research and really looking really hard at some of the all-time Nuggets players, I hope you can agree with some of the changes I made. Again, if you don't agree with these changes, this is completely up to your discretion. This is just my suggestions to you. You can play the game however you choose to play. So the first people that I'm going to let go off of this list, and probably the most controversial one, is going to be Allen Iverson. Now, why am I letting a Hall of Famer like Allen Iverson off of this list? Well, to be honest with you, look how long he played in Denver. He played one full season, he played a half a season, and another half a season. So, he didn't even play 3 years in Denver. Now, if I didn't have other players that I felt were passed over for this team, I would leave Iverson on there. But there are people that were career Denver Nuggets almost that weren't put on this list. And I feel somebody that's played 10 years with the franchise should be more regarded as an all-time great for that franchise than somebody that spent 2 seasons with them. So that's why I dropped Iverson off the list. Okay. The next one that I want to drop off the list is Nick Van Exel. And the reason I dropped Van Exel off that list, it's the same reason as Iverson. He was there for 3.5 seasons. However, I feel that if you look at Van Exel overall in his career, you're not remembering him as a Nugget. You're more remembering him as a Laker. And he played, for a lot of other teams other than that as well. Plus, there are some other point guards that I feel that one in particular that was overlooked that was a Denver Nugget for a long time that would go ahead of Van Exel. The same thing can be said about Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups, probably will be a Hall of Famer before it's all said and done. But if you look at his time in Denver, he spent about the same time as Iverson, about two seasons. He spent a full season there and a couple half seasons. So I don't view Chauncey Billups as an all-time great with the Denver Nuggets for that reason. The other one that I'm going to let go is LaPhonso Ellis. Oh, and Marcus Camby. Both of these guys were good players. LaPhonso Ellis actually found most of his success with the Denver Nuggets. I just feel that there's another player that kind of is above him on the all-time Nuggets list, and we'll share him in a minute. And the same can be said about Marcus Camby. Camby played some very good seasons with the Nuggets. As you can see, he spent about 5 seasons with them, maybe even 6 it looks like. And I just feel there's another center that's a step above him on the all-time ranks. And we're not talking about a Hall of Famer, but I feel the current center is probably better than Marcus Camby. And we'll share him with you here in a second. So just stay with me and we'll check out those updates to the roster. Alright, so here we are with our starting lineup. I did have to make a few adjustments to the lineup from the stock roster. First and foremost, we'll start at the bottom here. The game actually puts Dan Issel as your starting power forward and Mutombo as your starting center. Now, Dikembe Mutombo is a Hall of Famer. Not going to disagree. However, I feel that having Issel and Mutombo in the same lineup means that Carmelo Anthony or Alex English is not in the lineup. Alex English, I believe, is the odd man out in this equation if you put Issel and Mutombo in your starting lineup. Now, Alex the Blade English, I believe, without looking, has all of the records for the all-time Denver Nuggets offensively. I believe he has the all-time most points and et cetera, throughout his career. It's very hard for me to leave somebody like that. I mean, look at his numbers at points per game there. I mean, starting with not the Indiana numbers there, but 25, 28, 26, 27, 29, 28, 25, 26, points per game at the peak of his career. How can you not have that in the starting lineup? So with that said, we actually are going to play a little small ball with this team, and you're going to have Carmelo Anthony at your power forward, and you're going to have Issel at your center, which is his true position anyway. Issel was kind of an undersized center at 6'9" by today's standards, but he truly was the center on most of those Denver Nuggets teams that were highly successful. So after we covered English, Anthony, and Issel, we'll go back up to the top. This one was a tough choice. I feel that Fat Lever gets the nod over Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and also the other gentleman that I'm going to share with you. I feel that all three of these point guards are, strong candidates to be the starting point guard on this team. I feel that none of them are head and shoulders above the rest. You could probably change any of the three out and you would have the same result. The nice thing about Fat Lever, I feel that his defensive skills are maybe a little bit better. The other gentleman is also a good defender. So, again, it's up to you, your personal preference. I feel the shooting guard, without any question, should be David Skywalker Thompson. As a matter of fact, they rank him the highest on the team, above Carmelo Anthony, which is kind of surprising. But Skywalker Thompson was a huge dunker back in the early days of the Nuggets. Very good offensive shooting guard. His shot wasn't what a typical shooting guard was, but he was a good mid-range player. Not a three-point specialist by any means, but if you got Carmelo on the team, you really don't need him. So the backup center, Dikembe Mutombo. Backup power forward, the Dice Man, Antonio McDyess. I feel that he gets the nod above LaPhonso, Ellis. McDyess, in his early days with the Nuggets, and we're talking, the two stints he was there, he was a very high-flying dunk man. You can see how his numbers dropped off between Phoenix and New York there. I remember him getting severely injured during his career while he was with the Nuggets, and he just was not the same explosive player after his injury, which most players aren't. So McDyess is your backup power forward. Your backup small forward, Kiki Vandeweghe. Kiki Vandeweghe spent half of his career basically with Denver and another half of his career with the Portland Trail Blazers, then finished up with the Knicks. Vandeweghe, very amicable small forward, very good scorer, very good shooter, very good mid-range, can shoot a three if he needs to, so good backup off the bench to play a small forward. And this is the first addition to the lineup. This is Ralph Simpson. And this is the person that I chose over Allen Iverson, and I'll explain why. Simpson played, if not all of his entire career with the Denver Nuggets. He was a very formidable shooting guard, very good scorer, mid-range. Not so sure about the three-point line because I don't know if he played during the three-point era, but he is a very amicable shooting guard to have coming off the bench, backing up your starting shooting guard. And I put him ahead of Allen Iverson because Iverson, to me, is not a true Nugget. And that goes with this guy as well, Michael Adams. Michael Adams, great backup point guard. I feel you could switch him or Lever out and you could have the same results. Michael Adams was an undersized point guard. He, played a lot of time with the Washington Bullets as well, but his best years were with the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion. I believe Michael Adams may be, and I'm sorry if I get this wrong, I don't have my stats in front of me, he may be the shortest player to ever record a triple-double. Don't quote me on that, but I may be right. And his triple-double, I believe, was steals, not blocks. So that's the cool thing about him. He got 3 categories of over 10, and I think one of them was 10 steals in a game, which is pretty impressive. So pretty good defensive specialist to have on your bench or your starting lineup. This other gentleman, he played for a couple teams. He played for the 76ers for primarily most of his career, but he also was an ABA great with the Denver Nuggets, and that is Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones could be your backup power forward or your backup small forward. He can play either position. Very formidable, defender. Very good offensive skills. I feel Bobby Jones belongs on the all-time Denver Nuggets ahead of somebody like LaPhonso Ellis. With that being said as well, another power forward / center is Byron Beck. Byron Beck is commonly overlooked as an all-time great of any era. He was on the Denver Nuggets championship teams, when they started way back in the ABA. Him and Dan Issel were the cornerstones. Ralph Simpson. I feel Byron Beck as a lifetime Denver Nugget, Denver Rocket, I believe as well. He belongs on this roster. This again can be your backup power forward or your backup center. He can play some center for you as well off the bench. But with Issel and Mutombo, he probably wouldn't get many minutes there. So, I feel he belongs on there. And finally, the guy that's the center. And this is totally your discretion again, because you have Abdul-Rauf or Jokic. And I feel that Nikola Jokic has proven that he is one of the greatest Denver Nuggets to ever play. He's still very young. But assuming he doesn't leave in free agency in the next couple years, I think you could mark him down as one of the greatest Denver Nuggets ever. That gives you another center. This team is kind of full of big guys, to be honest with you. So if you don't feel comfortable with having Jokic or Byron Beck or Bobby Jones, you could simply swap one of them out for Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who is already on the roster. I also left Nene Hilario on there, or just simply Nene. I feel Nene gets the nod over LaPhonso Ellis as well. But as you can see with this roster, there's kind of a glut all at one position or two positions, and that's the power forward and center. You could probably find some other guards to be on this team. You could leave Iverson on there if that was your preference. But again, I go with Iverson didn't play there that long. So another one that comes to mind is Andre Miller. Andre Miller was one of the best point guards around in the early 2000s. But when you have Abdul-Rauf, Adams, and Lever, they're all kind of on that same plane, in my opinion, with playing. So adding Andre Miller really doesn't do much for this team, because where would his minutes come from? And that's kind of where you're at with Jokic as well. Jokic, where are you going to get minutes if you got Mutombo, Issel, and Byron Beck ahead of you? So that is my thoughts on the starting lineup. Now I will share with you the head coach, and the head coach is George Karl. Again, I apologize about the image. This is the best I could do with the stock images. But George Karl is one of the greatest coaches ever to coach. And he has the most wins ever as the Denver Nuggets head coach. So hopefully you agree with my choice at coach there. Another argument could be Doug Moe, I suppose, who also could be an argument as a backup player. If you don't know who Doug Moe is, he was a pure shooting guard, also played for the Denver Nuggets, was a very good player for a long time for the Nuggets. He could also go on this team as a guard as well, if that's your preference instead of Jokic. So, make sure we're going the right way. So hopefully you agree with my selections. This video is a little bit longer because we had a lot of changes to make on this one. So I look forward to your comments below. I hope you have fun with NBA 2K19, and I hope you have fun with the Denver Nuggets. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next episode.